Hey everyone, Finchnator here, and today I'm bringing you what might go down as one of the lesser enjoyable and understandable NU games that happened during the course of this Smogon Snake Draft. Now, with that said, I'm very happy to see my friend Tangelo, also known as Tangy, is his nickname here, get in the game and actually get his first win. Which, yeah, spoiler alert, he does win the game, and I'm like beyond happy for him. He's come a long way as a player, and he's one of my favorite team builders in the metagame. So great for him, and I hope there are plenty more wins in the future. But this game really was a head scratcher for me through and through, and I'm not gonna beat around the bush when I say that. But anyway, let's get into the game itself. First with the team. So Rodriblutar seems to have a relatively standard balance. Kind of up his alley. He uses these more conservative paced, bulky offense slash balance teams, and kind of uses his own means of pivoting around more threatening things, and then aggressive mid ground slash read plays to give himself an advantage. Kind of reminds me of sort of like a Brofist-esque playstyle in OU, except I feel as if Rodriblutar is more prone to misplays, which could very well um, give him some trouble here, perhaps. But meanwhile, Tangy is more of an unknown in the tournament scene, but he's been playing NU tournaments on a lower scale, such as NUPL, for a couple years now, I believe. And he's sort of part of the NU circle, bit of a contributor, a bit of a community guy, just very nice, well known. No one really dislikes Tangy, so really good to see him getting a chance here. But looking at his team, a bit more unconventional and offensive. You've got three birds looking at you right away with Aerodactyl, who still not too fond of, but I guess it's cool offensively. Some people seem to have higher opinions of it than me, so I'll respect it. It could be Choice Banded, it could be Life Orb or Z, it could be that weird Subtoxic set, although using that without Probopass seems ill-advised, so that's likely not the set. It's probably some offensive variant. Sceptile, which is normally a Life Orb special variant with Leaf Storm, Giga Drain, Focus Blast, and HP Ice, but knowing Tangy, it could be just about anything in the world. I mean, yeah, it really could be anything. It could be probably Swords Dance, for example, or Specs, if you want to roll that way. Zatu probably a pivot. I don't think it's like some Combine stored power shit on this team. I think it's just likely a standard pivot set. Scyther could be a choice scar for band variant, a la Oras NU, but on this team it seems more than likely to be more of a physically defensive, not physically, an Eviolite variant rather, with probably max HP, max speed. Although I could have run some attack investment in that, but like Roost, Sword Stance, U-turn, and then Wing Attack or Alley, so I don't remember which one it runs. Yeah, and then speaking of Scarf, like Scarfer is Passimian, the God Passer, and then Heliolisk, which best set is Specs, but I've seen it run like Z before, and the dreaded Life Orb, which really should not be used very often, in my opinion. I'm looking at matchup. A lot hinges on what the sets are for the Sceptile and Scyther, as well as how the Heliolisk is played, as that could potentially give Tangy a lot more offensive leverage and momentum than he would if he had less than ideal sets, if they are ideal sets. So if he has the right sets for the matchup, then I think he's going to be in a pretty good position. Whereas if he does not, then I think Rodriblutar is going to be in a pretty good position. Sorry, I just had to take a little sip of water there. My throat's high. Long day already, and it's not even noon, so you know the drill. Looking at potential leads, I imagine that we'll just see Apollo Sand from Rodriblutar. You can set up rocks on pretty much anything besides Sceptile, and maybe Heliolisk if you want to be scared of like Spec Surf. I totally respect switching out of that. But there is this Zatu, but Shadow Ball also hits everything besides Heliolisk, which is scared of Earth Power, so yeah, and rocks hit 3 sinks super effectively, 4 times effectively. So yeah, I mean, I'd lead Polysand personally, but I mean, I guess you could argue leading a couple other things. I'm just gonna pause 1 second. I'll get into Tangy side. All right, so on Tangy's side, I mean, you could lead with a number of things. Scarface, I mean, it's a pretty safe lead universally. Helios, Scythe are both fine leads. I imagine it's one of those 3, just because they all have access to U-turn, Volt Switch, and they can do things offensively, while not being too huge liabilities defensively, besides Heliolisk, but I mean, Vaporeon takes advantage of, especially with Seal Bell. So yeah, also Toxic, you could just go to Zatu on a Toxic, and then it's good for the rest of the game. So let's see how this plays out. When you see the Vaporeon lead from Rodriblutar, interestingly enough, I feel like that puts him on the back foot pretty instantly. So probably means he's a Toxic variant, at least trying to catch Heliolisk if it's something else. But anyway, we're going to see a turn 2 Surf from Tangi, and that is bad. But this is an even worse play from Rodriblutar. So Toxic there is exceedingly illogical for me because you're going to see one of two moves from the Tangi side. You're going to see either a Volt Switch predicting him to Toxic or maybe Scald, and that too is the only safe response to Toxic, and it isn't too killed by Scald, so therefore he gets that soon regardless. Or you're going to predict him to predict the Hollow Sand and just go for another Surf. In which case he goes to Heliolisk. No, wait. He's going to go to Hollow Sand predicting you to click Volt Switch. In worst case scenario, he recovers the potential secondary Surf damage, and then so either way he's clicking okay, I guess if he does that, then Toxic is a fine play, but I just don't like the risk reward, like, because that implies Rodriblutar is going to risk his Palo Sand taking. I guess Wish heals you back up, but like I just don't. I feel like the Zatu was really safe there from Tangi, and seeing as it's like his first game, he's not really known as a huge risk taker. No offense, like I feel like this Toxic was just so unnecessary. Like Scald was drawback free because Life Orb Volt Switch, which is like worst case scenario, isn't doing much over half, and then you got leftovers, protect. Just I feel like I always Scald there from when Rodriblutar shoots. And now seeing as he's Toxic, he doesn't have Heal Ball on this either, so this Bitcoin is crippled. So went from being able to wall Aerodactyl plus 0 right there, the Simian, and potentially non-toxic Zatu, to not being able to pretty much wall nothing in the context of the game flow. So that's a really huge negative for the Rodriblutar side in a risk that he took to essentially get toxic damage up on a Heliolisk or maybe a random Sceptile switch in, which simply wasn't worthwhile, seeing as they're both fragile Pokemon anyway, and they don't mind another 10 or 12% each turn or whatever, considering they already have Life Orb and whatnot. So I just think that was a really a reach there from Rodri, and I think that puts him in a negative position early on that he really could have avoided. But nice there by Tangelo. I feel like he made the safest play, and then he's going to go for a U-turn out the Heliolisk on a Wish, which is a fine play by Rodri there. I imagine you could go to Palo Santo or just protect here, and he's going to opt to go for another Toxic, interestingly enough. I guess you don't learn once, you don't learn twice, but I mean, that one was less negative, seeing as you're already Toxic on that. But now Tangi's going to make a nice play here and predict a switch out because Toxic damage is racking up. But Rotom or Incineroar, and he happens to go to Rotom, which is nice. I feel like that was also a risk in itself because he could have won Zatu predicting U-turn trying to get Rocky Helmet chip. But if you look at Rodri's team, you don't really care if Zatu is or not because you got Shadow Ball, Palo Sand, and you've got Incineroar and whatnot. So I think that overall, that Toxic in a risk versus reward kind of vacuum spectrum, whatever you want to call it, made a ton more sense, and it worked out. So I just take another sip of water, but yeah. So it looks like a good lead for the Tangelo side here. Although Rodri can gain momentum, as there's no ground type on Tangelo's team, which actually is a bone I have to pick with it. Is the rocker is like Life Orb Aerodactyl or something, which is pretty bizarre. I feel like the roll compression there is just kind of pitiful, and I feel as if potentially opposing Heliolisk, while sure you've got three things that are faster. If it's like the Kushala Scarf Heliolisk, it actually is ridiculously threatening to your team, and you should never really be that like outright threatened by a Scarfer. And on top of that, just any like Scarf Pissimian plus Nasal Core is also annoying. So I just feel as if like a Palo Sand over Aerodactyl might make a lot more sense here, especially since you don't need three birds. Like I feel like Tangelo took an idea and just went a bit too far in the team building phases, and that might turn out to bite him in the ass. Anyway, I'm just gonna pause 1 second and we'll get back to the next turn. Sorry, I'm back. So where were we? Yeah, so Toxic there. Nice middle ground play, but the Rotom is going to get momentum, and I'm not too fond of Tangi's overall structure, but I mean, that's okay. Not going to hurt him too much here. Excuse me. Burped. All right, so Rotom gets a free Volt Switch. Helios comes in here. I imagine that we'll just see Shadow Ball or Stealth Rocks. Instead, we see an Earth Power. I don't get that play at all. So my theory was he predicted Tangi to stay in and just surf. But that's, considering the fact that Tangelo switched moves already, and did not reveal that he's Life Orb yet at this point in the game. If he's going to stand, it's going to be because he's Z-Surf and he's going to knock your ass out. So otherwise, he's 100% switching. Because A, if rocks get up, then he's in a boatload of trouble. B, if there's just no way that trading whatever percentage of your Heliolisk for the very valuable whatever percent of your policy takes from like Life Orb Surf, for example, would be worth it. It's just the risk versus reward on these Rodriblutar predictions is pretty bad. I feel like this Earth Power just was a very attack what's in front of you and have complete disregard for the context of the gameplay here. I think you always click Shadow Ball or Stealth Rock, and I think that you probably end up clicking Shadow Ball at the end of the day because that too is increasingly likely because you don't know if anything else is defog on this team, and you've got rocks up that do so much damage. So I think Zatu is fairly likely, and Shadow Ball would end up doing fair chunk to Aerodactyl, which, by the way, I don't think was a play from Tangi. I think Zatu was, but I mean, I guess both work out the same. And now to add insult to injury, he's probably going to predict a double switch here, but he's going to end up taking a Life Orb Aqua Tail with Zatu. It's okay. And just toss out the Zatu, which, I mean, it's not a big deal. You don't really need Zatu in this matchup at all anyway. You know, you get the Rotom in to get momentum, but like it felt so unnatural, and I almost feel as if the Aqua Tail isn't doing a ton of Palo Sand anyway, so you probably just end up going to that in the Stone Edge turn and you're safer. But now he goes for another Earth Power. I just don't get it. But now he finally smartens up and goes for a Shadow Ball as Tangi goes for the Zatu. Misses Toxic, takes an ensuing. That's a really shitty miss for Tangi's side. But later we're going to see at least Heal Bell, so it's not like the end of the world. And he gets the Sceptile in at least. But yeah, that's just an unfortunate turn of events for Tangi. Here we're going to see Incineroar come in and a Swords Dance from Sceptile. Interestingly enough, we're going to see, after some time is taken on both sides, a Z, Stone Edge, probably maybe Rock Slide. I don't know what rock move it gets. I know it gets Rocks. I don't know if it gets Stone Edge. And then we're going to see one of the shittier sets, Yapaberry Fire Punch Incineroar. Now, you should always run Flare Blitz or Fire Blast on this. I don't even know if Fire Blast does more than Fire Punch, but it's because you do so much more to other stuff like Steelix, for example. Fire Punch is just such a bad middle ground option. The damage output is pretty pitiful. I get you don't want to take a recoil, but like sometimes recoil even helps you take the berry range. The fact that you can't kill a Sceptile on one hit with your Incineroar is just never okay, in my opinion. So yeah, not a fan of this Rodriblutar team or set really at all here. And that's going to allow the Sceptile to likely put this into very low range, if not kill it. So instead of just dying and being a 66%, yep, it's going to live with 6% and then you turn out. So potentially healthy Incineroar that could have gone in and checked something like Scyther once or been a fodder. Now, well, I mean, I guess it's still fodder, but it could have checked Scyther. Or, knock lock to Simeon. Now we're finally going to get the rocks up with Zatu dead. That is worth taking a Surf, I will say. However, you've got pretty much dead Incineroar and a pretty much dead Palossand, and what do you click? You click the Comfy, which with rocks up quite literally cleans the game with a Calm Mind or two. So we're going to let it take a 37% Surf for whatever reason. Then we're going to fail to kill the Heliolisk with the Draining Kiss, and then we're going to, because we're not Life Orb, which I don't know why this is a bulky Comfy set or a Z Comfy set, whatever. Take another 47%. Now you're down at 36%. And you pretty much thrown away your win condition if you're Rodriblutar here, which makes no sense. That insult injuries, Aerodactyl is fucking defogged. So now your rocks are off, and the Scyther goes ham. Gets the Vaporeon in an Aqua Tail, which is at least a good turn of events there. But then Hanky shows you Stealth Rock and Aerodactyl, which we knew. So he's like Stealth Rocks, defog, 2 attacks, Life Orb, which should never be used as a set ever, which is like the worst example of roll compression in modern history. But okay, it's still okay. He's got a good position here. This starts to take toxic damage. Scald here on Simeon, no burn. Nice there for Tangi. Gets on in. Incineroar is going to come on in to scout the move. The Simeon locks into its knockoff. So Comfy is going to come on in. Probably eats the knockoff barely, but it still should. We're going to see a Heal Bell here, which is nice because Vaporeon could potentially win the game now. But, like, can it? Wing attack is there, doing 29%. We're going to see a Roost here for God knows, I don't know what reason. You either attack it there or you U-turn. You either U-turn or wing attack there always. You don't need to be at fall if you're Eviolite. if you fear Wisp, then I mean all three of your things get fucked by Wisp anyway. Rodriblutar is kind of clawed into a winnable position, and because of plays like that from Tangi, and he kind of just took his foot off the gas. I feel like, especially with the Sceptile sequence, I feel like he could have set that up a bit later. Maybe gotten some chip on Incineroar with like a Leaf Blade the first time around, and then came in later and gotten a Sword Dance and killed it. Maybe he didn't know that it was pivot, or maybe it was bulkier than that. I don't know the calcs, so I'm gonna give Tangi the benefit of that and say that was a misplay. But I feel like the Roost, sure, he was scared of Scarf, but like you didn't really need to be at full. Like you still lived any hit from Palos and Vaporeon or Comfy, and the damage could have been nice. Anyway, Vaporeon comes in here. Toxic Vaporeon actually looks great, but then a U-turn on a critical hit and a Toxic. So no, I don't know why he didn't wish. Why didn't he wish? Yeah, if you wish up there, like Wish Protect goes ham. But yeah, now the Vaporeon's pretty much out of play. It's gonna get a couple protects up, maybe a pivot in later, but it's gonna die to whatever attack hits when it takes an attack. So now Tangelo looks like he's in a great position again, despite this being toxic. Add insult to injury. He's going to make a nice play there, get the Scyther in on a protect. Switch out here on a wing attack. Okay, Paulo Sand was going to die anyway. Now Rotom is so weak, though, to where it's not going to matter. Yeah, U-turn, now it's pretty much game over. Scyther is going to win with Junction of Simeon. Unless Comfy could somehow 1v1 it, which I doubt. Stone Edge here, I get why he clicked it over Aqua Tail because Vaporeon coming in on Aqua Tail would have been game-losing stuff. Draining Kiss, not going to kill, and the Stone Edge damage is going to kill, which is why you wanted this at full earlier. If you had this at full and you kept rocks up or pressure up, then you could have won the game. But yeah, Rodri is going to protect here. He needs a miss to have a chance, and no miss. So yeah, Rodri played a really game, in my opinion. Angelo made a couple mistakes, but made some nice outplaying, had some nice outplaying turns as well. And despite a pretty bizarre team choice, it did work out, and the roll compression came through, and he won 2-0 in his first game. So good for him, but I'm never speaking of this game ever again. Holy shit.